Hello, this is Tony and Michael from the Joseph Communications, and we're here doing question and answer from the Soul Group Insights. And we have a question here from Aeron Apple.
Hi,
and it's a short question, Michael.
Okay.
After the body dies, who exactly makes the decision to return to the physical earth or to move to the cleansing spheres? Is it the last personality, the individual? Sorry, I'll start that again. Is it the last personality the individual had on Earth, the sum of all personalities from Earth, or the Oversoul?
Right. Well, it all depends on your ability to access who you are as the sum of your experiences.
Yeah.
So you might find yourself moving on from Earth and only being able to see things from the perspective of the life you've just lived. On the other hand, you might find yourself moving on from Earth, regaining a portion of your spiritual memories, and therefore acting from the greater knowledge of that perspective as to what you do next. It all depends on your individual progress as a spirit, and what you can remember when you've passed over and what you can't remember at that point. I see the oversoul as the sum of the personalities. I see the two as being the same thing. You are the oversoul. I've often found that if I post something, a Joseph quote on Facebook, for example, and it mentions the soul, somebody will come back and say, "You're not the soul. You're not a soul. You're not a soul. The soul is something, it's not sentient." Somebody once said to me, "The soul is not sentient." Well, I see myself as a soul. And yes, the soul to me is sentient because the soul is the complete me, or an expression through of me through the soul, through the vibrations that I've accumulated around my core energy, what I really am, as a result of having lived many times on Earth and in other circumstances. And when the soul can also be called the greater self. And I think that's a more accurate description of the soul, the greater self. And in meditation and in stillness, we can access with time the opinions of the greater self. For example, if I'm in a dilemma about something and I can't solve it as little me, I say, "Look, greater self, what's your input? What do we do about this?" Not acknowledging the greater self as something separate than me, but as a greater part of me that I can gain access to if I so wish. So who decides to come back? Well, ultimately you do. But what are you? You are the sum of all your experiences. But you can be the sum of all your experiences, but at the same time restricted to the perspective of one lifetime because you haven't yet grown back into those experiences and cannot yet access them as a whole. So it's always you that decides to come back. It's just you that decides to come back as a result of how much knowledge? As a result of the knowledge of the life that you just lived, or as a result of the knowledge gained from all the lives that you have access to as your greater self. But I would say that if we have knowledge of many lives, if we have access to many of the lives that we've lived, the experiences that we've lived, then we're at a point already where we will decide not to come back, because it would not seem logical to do so.
Can I just ask a question further to that, Michael? Is our route for higher level knowledge through our greater soul, our higher soul, is that the route for everything? When we say we'll put something up at night,
Yeah.
we, as part of the oversoul or the higher soul, we're asking for answers for a question on something. Does that apply to everything? Are we asking our higher self to get the information for us or to get an answer to a situation for us?
We're asking
Is
us,
it our route,
there
our
are,
channel?
There are two stages. I suppose I can liken the higher self to being in a library. I read a lot of books. Like you, I love books.
Yeah.
But I can only read one book at a time. So my perspective from that one book is limited to the experiences that that book is bringing to me. But there are other books on the shelves. And the greater self is like having access to the greater library of your spirit. There are lots of books that you can pull down as reference and say, oh, look,
Yeah,
I
I get it.
experienced this,
I get
I
it.
experienced that.
Yeah.
Now, in totality, or having read some of those books again, what's my decision? With that greater knowledge that I have access
That's a really
to.
good analogy. I get
And
it.
it's
Yeah.
it's all me. It's not that we're divided.
Yeah.
It's that when we come to Earth, we are shoehorned into a small perspective. But that greater perspective, we're reading one book.
Yeah.
But that greater perspective, that library that we've accumulated, we still have access to through spiritual discipline.
Yeah.
And through spiritual discipline, we can view things from a number of perspectives that we've gone through, experiences that we've gone through, and then base our decisions on that greater perspective.
Yeah.
But then there is a greater connection, because once you've got the library of the greater self, there is the greater library of the divine. And we can connect through the library of the greater self to the vast library of the divine, and bringing knowledge into that greater self library and then down to ourselves. So it's an opening up all the time to greater knowledge, to greater experience.
Yeah, I get it. That's a great way. In many ways, the microcosm is the same as the macrocosm, isn't it?
Yes.
It's all multiples of that theory that works.
And it's all us.
Yeah.
It's, the greater self is still us. It's not a separate entity.
That's the big thing, isn't it?
It's the greater aspect of ourselves.
Yeah. Michael, thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Aeron,
Thank you, Aeron.
I hope that answers your question, and thank you for asking the question. God bless and goodbye.
God bless. Bye now.